Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace to the rest of you. First off, let me apologize in advance for the butthole I have to be in this recording, in the second half at least. Now, in the first half, I'm going to address a point, what might be a valid observation made by Light Skin Love, but it would be a valid observation for a reason that she may simply not know, when in whatever case she did not point out. Light Skin Love did say in her video entitled, they don't want light-skinned women entitled light-skinned men, that whenever dark-skinned men are interested in someone, they make an effort. And when dark-skinned women are interested in someone, they at least put in work. But when light-skinned men are interested in somebody, they feel entitled and they don't put in work. Actually, as a man so pale, I've oftentimes not even been recognized as being black. I can say that that's really not the case. It is not that light-skinned men, and when I say light-skinned, I'm talking about men who are so pale and their hair is so straight that they may be mistaken for being from another community altogether. I'm talking about beyond just looking like a light-skinned black man, but looking like someone from another origin and background. In this case, the reason is that, and it may be the case for those who are recognizably black and still just light-skinned. The reason is that, see, right now, being a light-skinned black man is not an advantage even when the woman likes you. Ever since 1990, and I know because that's exactly when I came of age and I saw the shift. Ever since 1990, it has been a disadvantage in the eastern United States. And I'm not going to count Houston, where Light Skin Love lives, as being the western U.S. I'm going to count it as being part of the southeast. It is part of the Gulf Coast culturally. And I also grew up on the Gulf Coast. Not in Houston, but I grew up on the Gulf Coast along Interstate 10. At that point, the stereotype was if you were a light-skinned man, you're socially ill-adjusted, you're soft, you're everything except masculine. The one thing you were not associated with by virtue of your shade, especially if your hair was also straight, was masculinity. And it's not just me that went through this, otherwise I wouldn't have to record this. This is something that became a pattern. If you were in the middle, you could get around it. If you were light-skinned and you were very tall and very built, you could get around it. But if you were light-skinned, something had to compensate for that. You could, and this is when women liked you. That's what I'm getting at now. Because socially speaking, women still did not want to be seen out in public with light-skinned men, or men that at least really light-skinned men that looked like they might be from another community. Black women did not want to be mistaken for being in an interracial relationship, and I understand that. I don't blame them. Black women have historically been very loyal, and in this case, I guess it was no exception. So a lot of black women said, look, no. So what this meant was, when you look like this, if you look like Shaun King, where I grew up, and you try to make an approach to black women, a black woman or to black women in general, you tried this, you were going to be hyper scrutinized. Everything you did, and this was a subconscious thing, women didn't realize they were doing this. But it was a subconscious thing on their part. They were doing this without having to think about it, without having to make a conscious decision to do this. Everything you did, everything you said was subject to overanalysis. If you were considerate of her boundaries, you were not really interested. You weren't trying hard enough. In order to try hard enough, you had to be trying too hard. There was no middle ground. There was no in between. You couldn't make that kind of impression. You couldn't get that kind of judgment call from an attractive black woman who had any kind of options. If you were that pale of a man, if you looked like Shaun King back in those days, and hell, if you even looked like one of the DeBarge brothers and your hair was kind of straight, it was still the same thing. So she's right that light-skinned men may try less hard, but that's because they've been told to. In all honesty, I've grown up and learned. I've seen this time and time again. I have been not only told, but shown and proven. If I'm going to make an approach, I am going to be judged harshly. Everything I do is going to be not only judged harshly, but even misjudged, because assumptions are going to pop in their heads. You don't become an individual. You're not an individual anymore. As a friend, you can be an individual, but as a potential love interest, you can't be an individual. You are a bunch of stereotypes, and in her mind, one of them's got to be true. And if none of them shows truth, then she's going to have to pick one and run with it. It's got to be. It is very hard when you are a light-skinned man. It is very difficult for a woman to actually get to know you and give you a shot. It takes years. By that time, you just friends anyway. That's what really happens. So, no, say this, light-skinned brothers, a lot of you don't make approaches. A lot of you do try less hard than medium complexion and darker men. That's because you have to. Continue doing it. There's no reason you should have to pay twice the price for half the results. So, and this is proven by Light Skin Love's own point in another video, which is it was entitled something like "When You Have to Stoop Low to Get a Man." She told women, don't stoop to low and childish and teenage behaviors to get a man. Petty and messy behavior. She was right. Don't do that because it's not adult-like. Same thing for you guys. Don't stoop to a low behavior. And one of them is accepting that you have to try harder than the next man or the last man. If you have to try harder than the next man or last man had to try, you don't do it. If you know for a fact that she was chasing behind some other man, you don't chase after her. You don't pursue her. If you find out that she was showing up and accepted being a side chick and a booty call for some other dude, you don't commit to her. Now, for me as a Muslim, I'm supposed to tell you don't say anything to her at all. You just leave her alone. And that's what I would advise. Just, okay, bye. That's what you were to him. You can't be more than that to me. And I can't tell you to accept that from her. So just bye. But many of you, at least in your own morality, you're going to say, well, if she was his booty call, she my booty call, and that's all the hell she is. We ain't even friends. If we ain't screwing, we ain't friends. And I understand it. Because it is highly insulting to a man, just like it is to a woman, to have to try harder to get less. It's like saying you're just intrinsically worth less. Now, I've covered that point, and I'm saying this with no malice towards Light Skin Love. I mean, she may really not have known about this particular phenomenon that light-skinned men are facing. And when I say light-skinned, I don't mean kind of bright, but I'm talking like Sean King kind of pale. I saw this with my own eyes. And look, it was the same when guys were just nice. If they were just nice, they were consistently being overjudged. This is something that black women have been doing to black men, period. And white women have been doing it to white men too, but not nearly as much. This hyper-analysis and jumping to conclusions, and they're usually a negative conclusion. And that's due to trauma. It's not completely the women's fault either. It's due to a traumatic experience in a country that we're not even from. But anyway, let me move on to the next point. Now this one, this is where I'm a butthole, and I don't apologize for it. Chris Karezyn in Black and White Elite, in your video, Why Black Women Act More Feminine with White Men, somebody decided to pin my comment. And my comment, I want to make something very clear about my particular comment. My comment was not designed to approve of what you were saying. When I wrote my comment, I was actually being kind of sarcastic. You see, in the comment, well, in the video, Chris Karezyn is talking about why black women act more feminine, and she talks about this pink pill resort that she's at the time, and how we make it impossible for black women to be feminine and then get mad when they're not feminine. Look, no, actually, sometimes yes, sometimes no. You got bad neighborhoods. This can happen to women in other neighborhoods too. In all honesty, you can go to different countries where their real bad neighborhoods are slums with the smell of boo-boo all around. And the women act different ways. Some are feminine and some are masculine. It just depends. But the point is that it's not collectively black men's fault that black women don't get to be feminine. It is white men's fault. And what you're saying, your whole channel is devoted to telling black women to not only leave other men of color, but to leave all men of color, including black men, for specifically the one man who has today benefited from his grandfathers oppressing everybody else. What you're saying is they got the gold. No matter that they robbed us to get it, they got it so he can afford to buy me. That's really what the hell you said. I'm not going to address the rumors, Chris Karezyn, about what you've been doing. I'm going to leave them rumors alone because ain't no proof of them. In the comment, I say the same for black men who ditch black women for specifically white women, too. She can act demure because she inherited what our ancestors earned, and she's eating our share. We really should stop screwing those who benefit from our oppression. When you highlighted the comment and pinned it, thank you. I appreciate that. But I was merely trying to be fair. The point is, you're one of them. Your husband or boyfriend or whoever the hell he is benefited from the oppression of black people and other non-whites, and you out here sleeping with him. Now, I just got through saying in the previous few minutes that when black men who look like Shaun King, they don't really look that black, make approaches to black women, they get treated more harshly, even when the women like them. And I know this because it was 3 different black women that told me this, and they did not know each other. So I know what I'm talking about. And I know for a fact, if black men have to face something like this, okay, fair enough. If a black man who looks like he might be from another origin has to face this, then why the hell is it okay for a white man to come along and slide up in your uterus? You may not be my type. And this is not something personal, Ms. Karezyn, but the fact is your channel is devoted to this stuff. You're telling this to other black women. And you're one of the reasons that black women are walking around here celebrating every time a black woman gets a white man, not something else, but specifically a white man. You are celebrating this. You're part of the reason they celebrate this stuff. And when a black man winds up being treated well by a white woman, like Michael Coulter when he had nothing, or Omari Hardwick when he had nothing, or even gets with a semi-black woman of another culture that's not American, like Joe Budden with Sin Santana, y'all fly off the damn hook like you've been insulted. Well, you know what? I think it is insulting when people insult you, naturally. But you're sitting up saying black men this, black men that. No. How about your goddamn husband is benefiting from it, and he knows it, and he's not paying a reparations check? He knows what his grandfather did, and if he's the grandchildren of recent immigrants into the country, then okay, fine. He didn't cause it, and they didn't cause it, but he does still benefit because at the end of the day, when all these white immigrant groups came in and they weren't considered white at first, they were given a ticket to whiteness over time by one condition. They were willing to stand against black people for white folks. Cleveland, Ohio was a glaring example of this when they had them MLK riots. When the police were surrounding the black parts of Cleveland due to the riots, the Italians went to the cops and said, just let us go in there and we will put down the rioting. They were saying, we're white with you and we're against these niggas, these millennials. Let us go in there. And stop calling us guinea wop niggas while you're at it. That's what it was all about. We're white too. The Chinese and the Koreans got the same ticket, and the Indian community kind of got it. The Arabs were trying to get it until their own children said, no, check it right, you ain't white. That's what's going on. You sitting up here telling black women, no, don't get with a Latin American man, find you a black Brazilian or find you a Ghanaian or something like, no, go straight for the white dude. And you didn't even say go for the Muslim Eastern European white dude that's more likely to understand what you're going through and really not care about your origin. You didn't even say that. No, white, straight, Western, European, Christian, or atheist white dude that benefited from the oppression of other people. You're a damn sellout. I was not approving of what you're doing at all. And I still don't approve. I don't approve of your message. Even when you make valid points, you're making valid points for the wrong reason. And you failed to mention these reasons. Yes, white men can afford your femininity more because they stole the resources from us. Dumbass. And for putting out a message that bad and siding with the oppressor over the oppressed, may Allah curse you. I hope this message has been a benefit. Assalamu alaikum.